High winds bring death to an upstate New York elementary school. The wind's fury hits school buses in New Jersey. And Huntsville, Alabama struggles back after tornadoes spawned by the same killer storm. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. The storm that prowled through much of the nation claimed 7 young lives today. They were elementary school children at Newburgh, New York. That's about 60 miles north of New York City. Jacqueline Adams has our report.
It was lunchtime when killer 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts suddenly smashed into the East Coldenham Elementary School cafeteria. A glass and brick wall shattered, then collapsed.
The force of the wind just broke the glass. It's like glass with wire in it, and it just actually pushed the glass right in.
Wind, rain, mass confusion. It was a nightmare.
All you saw was everything blowing everywhere, and the people getting almost sucked out in the window. 2 kids inside the hallway. And there's a girl there that was given artificial respiration.
Tonight, families and friends are holding vigils at local hospitals where 19 children are being treated, 5 of them in critical condition.
We just saw a lot of severe head injuries, crushing injuries. A lot of children actually were probably suffocated from the rubble.
To see a little baby that was so full of life having lunch and all of a sudden is deceased is a very torturous experience.
The tornado-strength winds and heavy rains caused severe damage throughout the Northeast. From Pennsylvania to New Jersey and throughout New York State, power lines were down, windows were blown out, roofs were ripped off, and trees were uprooted. Over Albany, 2 people were injured when a commuter plane lost altitude in a major downdraft.
When we hit the air pocket, she was thrown up onto the ceiling, and the stewardess was thrown against the wall and hurt her neck very badly.
The cold front and high winds whipped up waves on the normally calm Hudson River. It was a sudden and brutal ending to what had been a long Indian summer. Jacqueline Adams, CBS News, New York.
The tragedy in Newburgh, New York was one in a string of weather-triggered storms on the cutting edge of a cold air blast. Tornadoes darted the nation from the Midwest on down into the South beginning yesterday, with thunderstorms and tornado watches posted today for the Northeast. 19 people were injured and at least 200 evacuated from Palmetto, that's near Atlanta, Georgia, after a tornado hit 2 mobile home parks there. But the string of storms struck with deadliest effect in Huntsville, Alabama, where at least 17 people died when a tornado slashed a 3-mile path of destruction during last evening's rush hour. 460 people were injured and 1,000 were left homeless around Huntsville. As Aaron Hayes reports, Huntsville now faces a monumental task of rebuilding.
Toby, where's Carrie? She's in there. Is she okay? No, she's not okay.
All night long, rescuers worked desperately, gingerly pulling rubble by hand, hoping to find survivors underneath. But as the night drew to a close, there were no more signs of life.
There's no hope. I don't think I can talk about it.
It was clear by daybreak this tornado had exacted a terrible toll in its half-hour sweep through Huntsville.
If you're a property owner, you may stay on your own property. Otherwise, leave the area immediately.
Late today, the search for victims was still far from complete. Authorities cleared the streets so they could search remaining buildings and keep looters away. It's believed the force of the tornado blew buildings apart, dozens of them, with people inside, a school.
I hear wind blowing, and then I fell, and my leg got broke.
An entire apartment complex disappeared.
It's just totally gone.
The worst, the Westbury Mall, a shopping center yesterday, a field of rubble today.
The deadly silence and then the loud noise and then just the realization that we may be dead in a few seconds.
Nancy McManus and Robert Avery clung to a door as their office flew apart around them.
I was scared. I was definitely scared. I ain't gonna lie.
Many were caught off guard. Several were killed while still in their cars. Others were outside. The only tornado warning issued here was after the twister touched down.
We can't pinpoint the tornadoes where they're going to occur.
What happened to the warnings are past worries now for the hundreds here like Mary and Bob McLaughlin. Almost everything they had is gone overnight.
You have to move on. We can't live here.
They'll pick up what few pieces the tornado left them and start all over again. Aaron Hayes, CBS News, Huntsville, Alabama.
And still to come on your CBS Evening News, Ray Brady on why corporate takeovers will figure in this year's Christmas shopping, and John Blackstone on San Francisco's big step toward ending the earthquake blues.
That shredded wheat sure is nutritious. How's it taste?
Exactly how it looks, actually.
Then try Kellogg's Raisin Squares. Not just shredded wheat, but shredded wheat with real raisin in the middle.
Oh, that'll change the taste, won't it?
Yep, you can do that. Raisin Squares make shredded wheat lusciously delicious.
I definitely detect taste.
Kellogg's Raisin Squares. Shredded wheat with taste in every bite.
Taste. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Take some vegetables and presto salad shooter.
Shoot some slices, salad shooter.
Point and shoot right into stir fry or casserole.
Shoot some shreds, salad shooter.
For hash browns or coleslaw.
Shoot it fast, shoot it neat, shoot it pretty. Pretty salad shooter.
Presto salad shooter slicer shredder. Clean up easy, dishwasher safe. Small enough to store anywhere. Great salads and much, much more.
Salad shooter.
Now a cordless rechargeable salad shooter too from Presto.
Chili dog with onions. Indigestion time.
2.2.
I'd never tried Ryapan.
2.2.
Then I remembered my doctor telling me about it.
2.2 seconds.
It was incredible.
Lab tests show Ryapan Plus 2 starts neutralizing acid on stomach contact in just 2.2 seconds. Because Ryapan has Megaldrate, a special dual-action formula.
Ryapan's a new friend of the family.
Remember 2.2. Remember Ryapan.
The U.S.-backed government of El Salvador rejected a Red Cross appeal for a truce today and pounded Havana-backed rebels in the capital city with heavy fire from the air and the ground. Nearly 700 people have died, many of those civilians. Among today's victims were 6 Jesuit priests and 2 women on a university campus. They had been tortured, killed, and mutilated in what a church leader said appeared to be the work of a right-wing death squad. Correspondent Juan Vasquez is covering the Battle of San Salvador.
The Archbishop of El Salvador called it a terrible massacre as he came to pray this morning over the bodies of his friends. They were brutally executed in the classic style of the Salvadoran death squads, dragged out of their rooms in the middle of the night and shot through the head.
If the spiral of violence continues, death and destruction will annihilate many more, especially those whom the country needs most.
What occurred last night in the middle of the night was a barbaric act that has not only brought shame to El Salvador, but will leave a gaping hole in this country's intellectual and academic community.
In a country where the powerful consider liberation theology a dangerous idea, the priests dared to speak up for social justice and frequently against the U.S. policy of supporting a government they saw as undemocratic. Earlier this year, Ignacio Martin Baro, one of those who was murdered, spoke to CBS News.
The problems of this country are problems of very basic wealth distribution, of very basic needs.
Meanwhile, thousands are fleeing the contested suburbs of San Salvador, fearing a massacre of another sort, this one from the air. Over Soyapango last night, the Air Force used rockets and machine gun fire to try to push the rebels back. This morning, the rebels were gone, but dozens of homes were destroyed by the aerial attack. In Mexicanos, another working-class area, a mass exodus involving thousands was underway. Guerrillas have built barricades and trenches, but they are allowing those who desire to get out while they can. The guerrillas have ordered their combatants to maintain their positions at all costs. But in the areas controlled by the rebels, such as Mexicanos, it's the civilians who are paying the cost. Tell the Air Force we don't have weapons. We only have children, a woman cried. We want peace, this man pleaded as he emerged from Mexicanos. But in nearby Zacamil, the army staged a powerful attack today. As the rebels are slowly driven out of the capital, the war continues to claim victims. including those who spoke loudest against violence. Juan Vasquez, CBS News, San Salvador.
In Washington, a federal judge tonight ordered former President Reagan to produce personal records and testimony for the next criminal trial stemming from the Missiles for Iran, What Happened to the Money, Who Gave the Orders case. Portions of Mr. Reagan's diaries and notes have been subpoenaed by defense lawyers for Iran-Contra defendant John Poindexter, who served as Mr. Reagan's national security advisor. Poindexter contends those records will show he had presidential approval for his actions. The judge gave former President Reagan until Wednesday to comply with the subpoena. Lawyers for the former president are expected to fight it. President Bush and his aides, stung by charges that they bungled last month's attempted coup in Panama, now reportedly have approved a new $3 million plan for the CIA to try and topple General Manuel Noriega. The Los Angeles Times reports this plan authorizes the use of, quote, high-risk tactics and could involve U.S. troops. CBS News White House correspondent Wyatt Andrews has been checking it out.
Administration and intelligence sources confirm the new covert plan would put the United States back in the position of encouraging and even planning a potentially violent military coup against Manuel Noriega. As part of the plan, the CIA would recruit and support Panamanian officers who might take power in a coup, capture Noriega alive, and then permit his extradition to the United States to face drug charges. As is usual in intelligence cases, President Bush refused comment.
Would I discuss it? Ever? It wouldn't be covert if I even referred to it. So there will be no such discussion of anything, which means I'm not confirming nor denying.
The administration now feels more free to go after Noriega because of a new interpretation of the ban on U.S. involvement in assassinations. After last month's failed coup, the White House complained that the ban tied its hands. Now, under a new understanding with the Congress, sources say the CIA can assist in a coup against Noriega as long as his death is not an explicit goal. A plot to extract Noriega alive is clearly within the new rules and would help the White House justify the coup to the rest of Latin America.
The sooner Noriega leaves power, the better off the people of Panama are going to be, and the better off the people of Central America are going to be. It's in their interest that Noriega leaves sooner rather than later.
The scheme for a coup is more aggressive this time and involves more money, but uprisings planned by dissident officers and backed by the United States are exactly what Noriega has survived twice before. Wyatt Andrews, CBS News, the White House.
As expected, the House voted quick approval today for a bill to raise its own pay, a two-stage 33% pay hike for House members, federal judges, and other government officials. The bill also puts new restrictions on House members' outside income. The bill is now on the Senate fast track, a final vote there expected tomorrow. Apparently part of the reason for the rush, public outrage killed a pay raise bill earlier this year. New chapter today in the national debate over what is art, what's obscene, and where your tax money goes. The National Endowment for the Arts now says it will award a $10,000 grant to an AIDS art exhibit opening in New York City tonight. This reverses its decision to withhold the money on grounds of sexual content and the artist's lampooning of politicians who backed a federal law forbidding government grants for what is called obscene art. Noted composer-conductor Leonard Bernstein said he would decline to accept a National Medal of Arts award from President Bush tomorrow if that grant was withheld.
Never guess.
The hardline communist state of Bulgaria, reportedly under direct pressure of Moscow, pushed ahead with revolutionary reforms today. From the Bulgarian capital, Martha Teichner has our report tonight on the changing face of communism.
The changing of the guard has been swift and sweeping. A sign of the changing political climate in the East Bloc, Glasnost was thrust on Bulgaria. Today, in their chauffeur-driven Western cars, the old guard arrived for an emergency meeting at Communist Party headquarters, knowing in advance their time was up. It was a clean sweep of Bulgaria's hardline Politburo members, dumped in favor of younger men, supporters of the new party leader Petar Mladenov. A reformer who went to school with Mikhail Gorbachev, Mladenov was appointed last Friday after the abrupt resignation of the ultimate hardliner, Todor Zhivkov. He held power for 35 years, longer than any other East Bloc party boss. People power was what forced change in East Germany, in Poland, in Hungary. But in Bulgaria, it appears to have come by decree, straight from Moscow. Here, the people were caught by surprise and are now struggling to catch up. A cautious, frightened handful of intellectuals, Bulgaria's fledgling dissidents, are afraid to ask for too much. Their slogans call for reform, but not for an end to communism. And that's exactly what Moscow wants after East Germany.
We are not aimed on clashing with the government. We are aimed on fulfillment of our demands. So if the government agrees, okay.
The question is why now, if there is no real threat to the party? It can be answered by looking at the faces of Bulgaria's people who are paying the price for old-style communism. People who have to stand in line to buy a chicken, who can afford to feed their families cabbage and not much else. In Bulgaria, glasnost means finding new politicians to solve the problems the old politicians caused, before it's too late, before the people start looking for answers outside the Communist Party of Lenin, or even Gorbachev. Martha Teichner, CBS News, Sofia.
An American woman and 2 West Germans who were reported kidnapped in Beirut yesterday turned up safe today at the West German embassy. They denied the story and reportedly planned to leave Lebanon. Relatives of 54-year-old Deborah Fauren, she was the American, said she went to Beirut with her German friends hoping to write a book. It's still not clear how their passports came to be photocopied and sent to a news agency along with the kidnap claim. South Africa took another step away from apartheid today. President F.W. de Klerk declared all the country's beaches open to all races, and he said he will move to end segregation in other facilities, such as parks, libraries, and public toilets. The reform would not affect racial barriers in housing, hospitals, and schools. U.S. officials announced today the indictment of 5 people and a South African munitions company charges conspiracy to export $50 million worth of gyroscopes for use in South African anti-tank missiles. The accused were caught in a U.S. government sting operation. One of the people indicted is a former member of a U.S. Naval Special Forces unit. Federal prosecutors say that the gyroscopes were to be funneled through Israel, which has been accused of providing other U.S. military technology to the South Africans.
That'll be a charge. We interrupt this purchase for a reminder.
Don't forget, Santa.
'Tis the season to be choosy.
La 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 la.
That's it. So choose the card that actually pays you cash back for every charge. The Discover card.
That's a great idea.
You sure know how to pick them. It pays to Discover, the card that pays you back.
Now, from the cafes of Paris comes the inspiration for a new kind of mustard. Introducing Grey Poupon Parisian. Created especially for sandwiches, its distinctive flavor gives even the simplest foods a sophisticated accent.
Pardon me, would you have any Grey Poupon Parisian?
But of course.
New Grey Poupon Parisian, another of life's finer pleasures.
Is that all there is? It's kind of simple, isn't it? You sure all the good stuff hasn't sunk to the bottom? Well, where's the buried treasure? There's no mystery. Sip. This is just flakes. Mmm. I can actually taste the cereal. It doesn't need anything else.
Kellogg's Corn Flakes.
Corn Flakes?
Taste them again for the first time. And for a limited time, taste them again for just 99 cents.
Late story from Capitol Hill. CBS News Chief Washington correspondent Bob Schieffer reports that the Senate Ethics Committee has decided that it will appoint a special counsel to investigate accusations against 5 senators in the Lincoln Savings and Loan scandal. That's the biggest single S&L to go belly up. Those senators would be DeConcini and McCain of Arizona, Cranston of California, Regal of Michigan, and Glenn of Ohio. Also, the Ethics Committee has decided to look into the accusations that Senator D'Amato of New York could be involved in the still unfolding HUD scandal. On this, another day of deadly storms and their devastation, there's a reassuring reminder of humanity's resilience. Just about 1 month ago, October 17th, the great earthquake of '89 rumbled through Northern California. Today, there were festivities and some sobering reminders of that event. John Blackstone reports.
San Francisco, open your golden gates.
San Francisco is trying hard to shake the post-earthquake blues. This city in need of a party found a good excuse today, the reopening of the earthquake-damaged Bay Bridge.
We are back and we are in business once again.
When I come home to you, Oakland, San Francisco.
But in the rush to get back to normal, there are those who worry the lessons of the earthquake could be forgotten. Workers continue tearing down the ruined I-880 freeway, which collapsed in the earthquake. Among the 41 people killed here was Ray Holmes, whose wife Tamara is trying to start a campaign to guarantee all the state's freeways are earthquake safe.
My husband and I were married 22 years, and in 15 seconds, I lost my whole life. And it was because things weren't taken care of properly.
The family of Anis Khan now watches videotapes to remember a 23-year-old who came to California from Pakistan 5 years ago to find a better life.
His name Anis means a friend, a companion.
For the Khan family, time seems to have stopped when they got a call from the coroner's office.
His body was recovered from the pickup truck that you described, yes. And his identification on him is how identification was made. And anything else? No, sir, that is all. Okay.
Most of the San Francisco Bay Area is wearing a smile again, but behind it, the economic and emotional consequences of the earthquake remain. John Blackstone, CBS News, San Francisco.
And that's part of our world tonight. We hope you'll stay tuned now to this station for 48 hours. Tonight is about this country's emergency care heroes. That's tonight at 8/7 Central Time. Dan Rather for the CBS Evening News. See you soon on 48 Hours.
My heart in San Francisco.
You're alongside trauma teams in their fight to save lives, but time and money are running out. What will the next 48 hours be like tonight?
This is CBS.
Just ahead on 11 News at 6, Mayor Kathy Whitmire announces she